Hello, as you are most likely aware, the Tales of the Jedi trailer released yesterday. It was posted on the official Star Wars YouTube channel. It even beat Mandalorian Season 3 in the views originally. It had 3.4 million views currently, and that's insane. Like, that's ridiculous. And then so today we're going to be doing a full breakdown. We're going to be doing a full breakdown and analysis of the Tales of the Jedi trailer. And I'll be sharing my predictions today. And I'll certainly do a breakdown like this for the Mandalorian and most likely the Andor trailer as well, and my predictions for them. But for now, we'll focus on mainly this. We'll focus on Tales of the Jedi. I've been releasing some videos about Count Dooku and the Inquisitor that we saw in the Tales of the Jedi trailer. And yep, I make sure to like and subscribe if you wish to ascend to the rank of Master on this channel. And make sure to check out my YouTube channel, Star Wars Brainbusters, which if you're watching this video, we already know you have. So yep. Here's my essential breakdown of the Tales of the Jedi trailer. Enjoy. Okay, gonna stop it right here because this is obviously Padme's funeral. In the end of Revenge of the Sith, if you haven't seen that movie, which I'm very disappointed in you if you haven't, Revenge of the Sith, Padme is force choked by the newly Christian Darth Vader, and she has a funeral on Naboo where all the Nabooian citizens come out and they commemorate her. And yes, if you didn't realise, which we'll most likely see later, Ahsoka's actually in this scene paying her respects to Padme. We most likely see her later. She had a grey cape slung over her head to hide her persona. This is Dooku, a much younger Dooku. I'd like to note. This is Dooku outside the Jedi Temple. There's a sacred tree at the Jedi Temple, so this is he's most likely meditating or preparing to meditate. That's my main prediction. And I have a feeling that Dooku's half of this Tales of the Jedi is going to be much more interesting than the Ahsoka half, just mainly following his descent into darkness. I also have a theory about this tree, and that it essentially shows how the Force is shifting. And if you can see on the grass, just around the tree in the enclosure, that the leaves are falling. I think this has something to do with Dooku's currently conflicted emotions, and that this is showing that the Jedi are slowly falling and ignoring the darkness. Anyway, continue. This is an important moment I'd like to note here. This is an infant Ahsoka Tano, Ahsoka being one of the most famous Star Wars characters of all time, in the top 10, maybe at least top 5. And then she is taming what looks like to be a gigantic, semi-sentient creature. Obviously you can see the tusks. She's using beast control, which is the ability that Grogu utilized on the Rancor in the end of the Book of Boba Fett finale, and it's also the ability that Anakin Skywalker used on the Reek in Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones during the Battle of Geonosis in the Geonosian arena. And I find it interesting that Ahsoka had this ability from such a young age, and I really hope that we get to see Plo Koon. I hope we get to see Plo Koon in Tales of the Jedi, and him recruiting Ahsoka. In the back, I think I can see bones, because it seems like another animal or a Twi'lek or one of those other Star Wars species, or a Togruta's ribcage, or one of their bones that this creature has most likely devoured. So I find that quite interesting. This is all that scene just there was also important. Sorry, I keep pausing it. Because that person right there, I don't know if you know, She's like the elder of Ahsoka's Togruta village, and she's sort of like, if any of you have studied ancient Greece, you know in ancient Greece there were 5 oracles. I can't name them all, but I know one of them was the Oracle of Delphini, Oracle of Trophonius, and there were 3 more. And essentially, I think what I've gathered and conspired in my brain, she's essentially the predictor, sort of like the Oracle of the Ahsoka's Togruta village, and she's essentially predicting that Ahsoka is a Jedi, or will become a Jedi, because she just said Jedi, Ahsoka is Jedi. Also, I'd like to point out that, it seems very interesting that she was able to predict the future, similar to the Oracle, and figure out Ahsoka was going to be a Jedi. Clone Wars Bad Batch. Okay, this part's very interesting to me, because personally, it looks like there's either a droid bartender, or it doesn't look like they're making droids. I thought that originally they were making IG droids, or maybe like IG-88 is here and Dooku's and Qui-Gon are going to go check out a disturbance. But it looks like a casino or cantina similar to the Mos Eisley one on Tatooine. But due to the damp atmosphere and nature and the small glimpse we got of the planet, I have a feeling this is Nal Hutta. And the reason I believe that is just because of the damp nature, but purely this is prediction. I do think this is Nal Hutta, but we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, yes, this part's important. Let me reverse this slightly. Yes, in this scene, we see Anakin. Now, this is early Clone Wars Anakin, so his hair is quite short, because it's just after Attack of the Clones, where he gets his Padawan Ahsoka early into the Clone Wars conflict. We see Anakin slowly walk in on Ahsoka's training sessions. He's training with a training droid. But the thing I want you to focus here is on the Jedi next to Anakin. This is Terra Sinube. Now, he's confirmed to be killed because we saw him frozen in the Kenobi TV show in the dungeon of the Inquisitorius Fortress, where he, along with a bunch of the other younglings and Jedi, were frozen in some sort of metallic substance that was transparent, so you could see him. He appeared in the Clone Wars, and he seems to be assisting Anakin or assisting Ahsoka with overcoming her challenges. That's my prediction, but it's great to see him back. He's an incredibly underrated Jedi. Really enjoy his content and essentially everything he does and brings to the table. So I believe that if this is Nal Hutta, it could very well be another Swamp World, maybe Dagobah. I doubt it's Dagobah, but it could be Dagobah, or I'm leaning more towards Nal Hutta. I think this could be a separate region of Nal Hutta that maybe the Hutts don't have limited or as much control, or they've set themselves apart. And it's essentially Dooku saying that he's speaking to the village elder. He wants to bring peace and order. And yes, he wants to bring peace and order. And on this same planet, it looks like I so strongly believe it's Nal Hutta, but I might be wrong. Just remember, this is all mainly speculation and prediction. We see Dooku unveil his blue-bladed curved lightsaber hilt. It seems like the village. This further supports my theory of this being Nal Hutta, because I believe that Dooku, the village people, which the elders right next to Dooku and Qui-Gon, what I could make out, they're fighting scouts or recruits and soldiers that have been sent to deal with the Jedi, and by the Hutts, by the rulers of Nal Hutta and Hutt space. And this is essentially Dooku and Qui-Gon's attempt to sort of save them and liberate them from this there's like anger and pain. Like Dooku said, he wants to bring peace and order to the galaxy. That's obviously Qui-Gon sensing tremors through the Force at Dooku's potentially beginning to lure himself into the dark side. He attempts to stop him, and Dooku just uses the Force to just like push him away effortlessly. Here we definitely see Dooku delving into the dark side, and we can also see Qui-Gon. It's most likely Dooku was just murdered, possibly the village people, or most likely if my theory is correct, the Hutt scouts or the Hutt recruits. And Qui-Gon's just staring down in shock at what his master's done. Oh yes, young Mace Windu. This is Mace Windu when he's like 30, maybe even younger. Possibly even younger. And Dooku's about like 50 years old at this point, because he was 83 and Mace was 33. No, and Mace was 63 in Revenge of the Sith. Dooku obviously has his black beard. They look like they're on, it could be Felucia, it might not. It looks like a very deciduous planet due to the autumn textured leaves behind. And yeah, this really displays Anakin's brutal training method of Ahsoka and wanting to push her past her limits. And we can also see the move that Ahsoka does to evade Order 66. It was like Anakin was training her for that, which I really appreciate the Tales of the Jedi creators adding that in. Here we can see some of Dooku's dueling expertise, and as well as Mace Windu. It seems like Mace Windu is either outranking Dooku or is just concerned about him. And because Dooku's definitely attacking like the guard, maybe they're opposing, and it's definitely not on the same planet. And he looks like he's about to kill this person. If you see the shot, he has his lightsaber raised right next to his ear. Looks like he's about to kill her, but Mace Windu tells him to stand down. He sort of stops when Mace Windu says his name. Yes, we saw quite a lot there. We saw Dooku and Qui-Gon in conflict on what I assume to be now Hutta. We saw Ahsoka, a young Ahsoka with the tamed beast, riding possibly back to her village. We also saw Ahsoka with her hood draped over her like tendrils. And yeah, we saw her at Padme's funeral. It's very interesting. That, I think, was Captain Rex catching Ahsoka off guard and essentially telling her and educating her on the fact she should never let her guard down. Okay, we need to go back for a moment, because I believe this Jedi right here, is... It's not Terra Sanube, because you can see Sanube there. But I'm not entirely sure who this Jedi is. But it's obviously a grave, because Dooku and them and all the other Jedi, including Terra Sanube and Say Tin and Depa Billaba, from what we can see, have come to like remember him or her, not sexist. And it's most likely an integral member of the Order. It's also Dooku saying that he's been warning them about the dark side and like the growing presence of the Sith. Right, at the end here we can see an Inquisitor. It's not the sixth brother. The Ahsoka novel writer came out and stated explicitly this was not the sixth brother, and Lucasfilm have also confirmed it. Right, now this scene is important because Yaddle is the only female member of Yoda's species and the third member of Yoda's species in canon, aside from Yoda and Grogu. And it seems that she and Dooku are dueling in the same place that Dooku brings the plans of the Death Star to Darth Sidious at the very end of Attack of the Clones. And it seems like they are dueling. Possibly Dooku has just figured out that Palpatine is the Dark Lord of the Sith and Yaddle has overheard him. Or this could maybe just be like, I doubt it's a training session. Because Yaddle is the most similar fighter to Grandmaster Yoda in the Jedi Order, possibly in all Star Wars. And possibly this is Dooku saying that if he could beat Yaddle, he would be a match for Grandmaster Yoda in swordsmanship, because he knows he can't beat Yoda in terms of the Force. Yoda has 18,700 midichlorians per cell, and Dooku has around 14,000. And yeah, it's just like trying to prove himself superior. But I'd like to realise how Yaddle died in Star Wars canon, because if we look, she's in Phantom Menace for about 10 seconds when she's judging Anakin on his ability to use the Force. But then she's not in Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars, or Revenge of the Sith. So something must have happened, and this essentially could cover it. Alright, a lot of stuff to cover here. This is the Inquisitor, a brand new Inquisitor in Star Wars canon fighting Ahsoka. This, in my opinion, is going to be at the very end of Dooku's story. And I believe and predict that this is going to be Dooku going to meet with Darth Sidious. At like the hangar bay where he goes at the end of Attack of the Clones. And this will commence into the duel between him and Yaddle, and that's what I believe. This is Mace Windu depriving someone of what looks like their blaster. Very unique blaster from that angle. It also looks like here that Dooku is lashing out with the Force at somebody. And it's important to note, this is earlier. This is definitely like one of the first Dooku episodes, because he has no beard. He only has his black hair. He has no black beard like he does in the other shots. He seems to be like toying with the emotions of the dark side within him, and that's impressive. Now that scene right there with the unconfirmed Inquisitor is, and Ahsoka doesn't look like she has a lightsaber, so she could take the lightsaber crystals from that Inquisitor, and that's how she purifies them to get her white lightsaber. But I would find it very interesting, and this is not confirmed, this is purely speculation. We go back here. The person that the Inquisitor is holding at blade point, I would find it very interesting if it was Lux Bonteri. You didn't know Lux Bonteri was the sort of love interest of Ahsoka for a part of the Clone Wars. They kissed once, and that was because of the Mandalorians coming in knowing he was talking to a Jedi. That could have got him killed. But yeah, that's the Trails of the Jedi breakdown, analytics, surveillance, and observance. So yeah, most of these are purely speculation and details. I hope they incorporate some factual details but most are theories. Most are theories that I predict. Anyway, students of the Force and acolytes of the galaxy far, far away, hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next video.